Hello there, and welcome to my own podcast, in which today I'm going to be talking about a franchise that has been remade and discuss what was going on at the time, what was different, and many other different points. The movie I'm going to be looking at is none other than Superman. Superman. There isn't a whole lot I can't say that hasn't already been said about him. Being one of DC's flagship heroes, he's had his fair share of incarnations on small and big screen. Today, I'm going to be looking at the 1978 Richard Donner Superman movie, and the remake, which came out this year, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Superman was given a PG rating by the BBFC, while Man of Steel was given a 12A rating. The 1978 Superman was a lot more colourful and a lot more tongue-in-cheek in terms of its content, and it was cartoony. It wanted to stick to the cartoony feel of the comics, while the Man of Steel has gone for a different direction in the reboot. Like a lot of reboots these days, such as the Amazing Spider-Man and the Dark Knight series. They want to make these comic book movies a lot darker, appeal to a more older audience. The marketing campaigns for both Man of Steel and the 1978 Superman movie I found are quite interesting, particularly the 1978 version. They wanted to make Superman a bit more edgier. They wanted to make him appeal to more mature audiences, so they actually redesigned the suit. They changed the S on it to give it more of an edge. And in the trailer, they didn't show any acting performances. They just sort of showed straight sort of action scenes and like titles, not to give too much away. And they wanted to really show off the flying effect, which was quite good for its time. While in Man of Steel, it followed a very sort of typical marketing route that you'd see nowadays. A lot of social media interaction with like Facebook and Twitter, and quite interestingly, there was actually a countdown for the Superman website on the Dark Knight website. Christopher Nolan was producing Man of Steel, which is why it makes sense, and I thought that was actually quite interesting. Richard Donner's Superman was released in 1978 for the budget of $55 million US. For the time, this is actually a really big sum of money compared to a lot of other movies that came out at similar times, such as Grease, Jaws 2, which was had a budget of $20 million, while Zack Snyder's Man of Steel had a budget of just over $255 million. Obviously, with inflation, that's still a massive gap, but that just goes to show how wide the effects and the performances and the sets. This just shows how big movies are nowadays compared to what they were back in the 70s. Well, I'd like to believe that Man of Steel was made purely for artistic reasoning. I just can't believe that's entirely true. I think finance played a big part in it. Superhero movies, they're massive these days. I believe that the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie really kick-started it, and the Avengers movie, which came out a few years ago, really pushed this whole superhero thing way out of proportion, and they're crazy popular nowadays. And I mean, just looking at the 2015 box office, what's coming out in that year: the Fantastic Four, the Avengers 2, Ant-Man. It's superhero movies. The Batman vs Superman movie. It's superhero movies are what's in right now, and you just can't ignore that fact. Both Superman and Man of Steel share a familiar character in a familiar universe, but you can tell they were made at very different times due to what was going on at the time, and this shows in the fears to that generation to our current generation. In the 70s, the Cold War just was in full effect actually, and nuclear tensions was at an all-time high between the US and Russia, and nuclear threat was a possibility, and this is one of the key plot points in the Superman movie, where Gene Hackman's character Lex Luthor is trying to use a nuclear weapon for his own gain actually. In this day and age, one of our biggest fears are terrorists and the act of terrorism. In Man of Steel, General Zod is a Krypton who comes to Earth to try and terraform it to make it suitable conditions to the planet Krypton, to try and start the Krypton race again, and kill all humans in the process. This can be seen as an act of terrorism, on a massive scale, and you can see how both of the this fear goes into the plot of the movie, and it shows it well. However, Man of Steel was actually quite hyped up and a lot of fans were eager to go see it due to the YouTube campaign. Like a lot of the adverts on YouTube were really effective, and why can't we do with Batman that we do with Superman? It's been almost 35 years since like a good Superman movie. Let's do it. When the movie came out, it was a mixed response. You either liked it or you didn't like it. A lot of the common complaints I saw were it was a rehash of the original, and the others were like they didn't like Henry Cavill. They didn't think he was good enough to be Superman, which I thought he did a fine job in. But that's just me, and this is always going to be something you're going to get when you have a movie particularly based on a comic book franchise, which has got a lot of fans. But yeah, both movies are really good, and we'll just pretend we never saw Superman 4. Thank you very much.
I will hurt people.